The Celts are here and it is international break. So I thought after the kind of downer we had with the St Mirren game last night, I would do a little video just kind of breaking down where I see all the members of the squad and what we want to be thinking about coming into this next section of the season as the Champions League group stages intensifies, as well as the title race now maybe being kind of on. At any point in the video, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe, share, retweet, all that good stuff, wherever you find us across social media. Also, leave a comment as well. Let me know your thoughts on what we're discussing in the video today. Anything we've overlooked that you'd like to add into the conversation, or anything that's not touched on that you'd like visited in the next one, drop it in the comment section. And yeah, let's get stuck into it. Now, in the off-season, it was all about, Joe Hart's won us over, and we actually all love Joe Hart all of a sudden, what a great guy, and all the rest of it. And Joe Hart has been, pass marks for this part of the season so far. The clean sheet record is there. He's not been called into action in too many occasions, and out of the goals we've conceded, maybe 2 or 3 of them you might want to point the finger at him for. But I think he's done an amazing job in really bolstering the confidence and raising the level of the composure of the defenders and allowing us to play out from the back and actually create attacking opportunities from these defensive positions where we're able to suck teams in, play around them, and attack the space with our forward players. The key to success in playing out from the back in a lot of cases for teams like Celtic is knowing when is the right time and when isn't. And as much as we've seen the guys really drop in deep and play the ball between the 3 of them before sucking teams in and playing them out, they have had occasions where they've just said that we're penned in and we can't get out, and they've just went for it long. And seeing that decision making being successful is a big part of keeping the clean sheets as frequent as we've had them this year. Now, Jenz in his opening kind of period of the year with Celtic, I think he's shown himself to be an able ball carrying defender. In his first couple of appearances when he was scoring goals and stuff, people were likening his style of play to Virgil van Dijk, and I can totally see why. Very brave and very willing and able to carry the ball through the middle of the pitch if, the ground opens up, because quite often we get opportunities where teams decide not to press all of a sudden, and a lot of players and a lot of teams in that situation, if they're not prepared for it, will just find themselves flat-footed on the ball and playing meaningless passes and just killing the clock and not really progressing the ball. I've seen Jenz at least once a match on average for the time he's been playing really drive the ball forward and try and play us in ahead of time, and causing that overload from centre back, which can be a really valuable weapon when you've got teams just really camping in and making it difficult for you to create the overload and make something happen. I think on enough occasions as well we've seen Jenz be very capable in this situation here where we're having to actually guard against the ball coming into the box, and I think he's made really good decision making with some of the corners and the throw-ins that he's caused the opposition to have rather than getting an attempt into the box, as well as those opportunities where we do recover possession. In these cases with the players we've got, we quite often see these little situations where they'll try and make a little box, a little overload before quickly try to find the free man in space and switch out to the counter-attack. And it really cannot be overstated how valuable it is having players that can action that in those pressure situations. Now, in the early part of the season, Carter Vickers has already proved his price tag. He's absolutely romped it this year. He's played virtually every game he's been fit for, not rested or rotated one bit. It was quite evident in the St Mirren match with the second goal we conceded in particular that we really miss that intangible, the thing that you can't really put a statistic on, the leadership qualities, the composure, the stature that he gives the defence to be able to, number one, I don't think he misses that ball for the corner, and number two, for the opportunities where we are moving the ball from left to right, he, similar to Jenz, isn't scared to travel 5 or 10 yards with the ball and really put the opposition on the back foot with that added overload. So it will be interesting to see how we cope without him. I'm not too sure Starfelt or Welsh can really handle that role of responsibility as well as Carter Vickers has done to this point, but with the basic build-up play that we've been doing, I think anyone can come in and replicate what Carter Vickers does. It's the defensive situations where we're really going to be missing what he gives us in defence, So great start to the season for the big man. I hope his injury recovery is without incident. Now, Josip Juranovic was one of the big kind of summer transfer sagas. Will he go to Atletico Madrid? He was linked to Chelsea, he was linked to Man United. We've still got him his way for Croatia national duty now, and he's a solid 7 out of 10 for the first part of the season. Don't get me wrong, he's getting notable assists and goals and everything to his name so far this season, but every game I've watched Celtic so far, the first half of matches, he's been relatively anonymous. When he's coming in a lot of games into this inverted centre mid position, he's not really actually doing anything and really influencing the match in any real tangible way, and a lot of times it has felt, and correct me if I'm wrong watching Celtic this year, that we've been missing a man somewhere, and when we have these inverted fullbacks, what it's meant to do is give us much more bodies in midfield so that these guys can run out a bit wild and create some spaces and some opportunities in some unsuspecting areas where the defending team haven't legislated for. In second halves, and all of Juranovic's good play has came on the right hand side when he's been playing with Abada Abada and really linking up in here and creating stuff in the final third. But when we've been in the defensive third, it's been really difficult to see Juranovic really driving us up the pitch from this position like we've seen Greg Taylor do. And Greg Taylor this year has been an all-action superstar. Like, he does absolutely everything. He gets an incredible amount of touches. He's not only collecting the ball from the back, from the centre-backs and the goalkeeper, linking play with midfield here and creating dangerous attacks on the regular. He's also coming into midfield here. He's also from midfield actually finding the way and the ability to drive into this area of the box and actually create assists and deliver crosses into the box at a phenomenal rate. For a guy that doesn't get many headlines for like amazing dribbling skills and scoring worldies and all the rest of it, he has been an invaluable part to the team. He never, honestly, I don't think he ever puts a foot wrong. He bleeds the Celtic at this point. He does absolutely everything for the shirt and he's been absolutely amazing. And literally, I can't say it enough. I've seen him over in this kind of territory of the pitch here, starting playing balls around and creating overloads. He's so switched on to the system and so switched on to doing everything for the team that honestly, it feels like he's got like 4 lungs or something at this point with the amount of effort he puts in. He's always sweating bullets after the first 5 or 10 minutes in a game, and for the first half of the season, he's a solid 8 out of 10 for me, no doubt. Now, the problem with Callum McGregor so far this been is, yes, he has been absolutely stellar. I think in most games, again, quite similar praise that I would give to Greg Taylor is the same for McGregor, but again, for his ability and for how good he has been and can continue to be, he's not really controlled it. He's not really ran a game. He's not grabbed a game by the scruff of the neck and really imposed himself on it with a goal or with assist or with really dominating a match. Like McGregor's going to get like 80 passes a game from Jenz, from Carter Vickers, Starfelt, Welsh, do all this stuff all day long, move it between Welsh and Hatate, make little squares across the pitch as we're building out play, and yeah, he's fantastic at doing that, and then finding the little pockets to play in guys like O'Reilly or Jota. Yes, he's very good at that. Now, his range of passing this season, McGregor, has actually been super short. Like he hasn't played many adventurous balls across the pitch. He's not made many breaking the line passes or smart passes as they're kind of called in the football statistical gathering world. And the manager has attempted to get him further forward in second halves when we've had like Aaron Mooy come into the picture, and we have seen some more creative output. Obviously the cup game was where he got his goal, and in this kind of last 10-15 minutes of matches when the substitutes have came on, we have seen him have a bit more license to come up here and get involved in the game. But by that point it's a little bit too late, and for somebody with his quality and the effort he puts in for the team, being the captain, the leader of the squad, I think we've still got a lot of room for improvement with McGregor's actual output on the pitch, as much as he's been a solid 7 out of 10 so far for this season. Now, Rio Hatate, again, has had a fantastic start to the season. I've labelled him the Japanese Modric, and like these little squares that we see Celtic making up when we're building out play from the back, Hatate is also getting involved in making those little triangles and those little 1-2s in the attacking third as well. The chemistry that Rio's struck up with guys like Jota and Taylor, particularly on the left-hand side, has been a huge part of a lot of our attacking output and our success in getting by players, taking people out the equation with intricate balls either in here for Jota to run into or Taylor for then other crosses and chances to be made from that, as well as taking the opportunity himself to play 1-2s and then himself, Rio Hatate, get into the box and create some chances like we've seen against Shakhtar, as well as his other good occasions. But with that being said, as much as his range of passing, Rio, from whether it is getting out of this little space here, can he go and find Abada on the other side? Yes, he can. Can he play balls straight into O'Reilly and Kyogo? Yes, he can. As much as he's got amazing praise, and I think he's done amazing so far this year, he's not really done much to deserve all this praise to this point. So I'm very interested after the international break to see Hatate really try and push himself on a level and get, similar to McGregor, a real top elite end 90 minutes in this next kind of segment of the season we're about to come to. Now, Matt O'Reilly has been playing out of his skin and continuing to enhance his reputation so far this year. One of the things I've been the most impressed about with him is this whole kind of false forward pressing role that he's been doing. And as much as I'm watching Celtic, of course I watch football from all over the place, and the role and the ability that he's kind of shown in this system is very similar, and I'm going to have to say it, very similar to Kevin De Bruyne. Now, of course, he's not the same level as Kevin De Bruyne, as I hasten, but that big, tall, decisive, strong, robust and clinical attacking midfield player who can forward press, can win the ball, and as well has the ability, right foot, left foot, to take shots from any real distance in the final third, as well as playing in passes for his teammates. O'Reilly has really stood out in this Celtic team, and with McGregor and Hatate firmly now over the last couple of games being in this kind of double pivot situation where they're running around and really controlling the game, it gives O'Reilly a great amount of freedom to now try and pop up in these little sections here on the corners of the box where he's got overloads, he's got overlapping runs, intercepting play from inverted fullbacks and all the rest of it. I think O'Reilly's been fantastic this year, and I'm hoping he can really, again, similar to the rest of the midfield, just push his level up a bit higher. There will be a period in the game where he'll take some shots that are needless, or he'll make the wrong decision on a pass, or he'll just maybe run out a little bit of steam. I think that's maybe just the last thing we're needing to see from O'Reilly is he can very similarly run a game and win as a game, grab it by the scruff of the neck and make things happen. And when it comes out to playing in these wide areas, when we have these little overloads, people have struggled to deal with O'Reilly in so many fronts, and his quality is just absolutely fantastic. He's one of the most irreplaceable people in the team when he's absolutely on form because of the physical dimensions that he offers us and the strengths he has in attack to help us going forward. Now, Abada for me is one of the most misunderstood players in the team. He is super effective, he is super clinical, he's one of the brightest talents that we've got at the club at the moment, but his main attributes and his main strengths and skills are when he's on the front foot, running at players, running at teams. And depends on the way the game's going, or depends on how the opposition's playing, he does really struggle to not play on the right. If he's on the left or coming through centre, he doesn't really tend to impact the match as much. And equally, if we are putting the ball into his feet, asking him to stand a man up and maybe trying to link up play, is when we can see Abada kind of let us and let himself down. But when we're in these situations where we're trying to build out from the back and the opposition come and go man for man for us, and we're playing in little squares and little triangles, struggling how to get out, Abada is exactly the man we're looking to find as soon as we break out of this little crowd. Find the spare man, which is typically the inverted fullback or maybe the centre back, and as soon as you can then start playing balls like this into Abada, where he's taking them on the front foot and backpedaling defences, that's when we see the absolute best out of him. And that's the situations where if we're not going to be playing a team that's going to allow that kind of thing to happen, it is a wee bit of a waste of Abada's abilities. You know, it's partly it's a huge part of the reason why he's so effective from the bench, because typically towards the back end of the match, either these guys are absolutely knackered, and if he is going to get the ball into feet, he's got time, they're going to stand off him and give him space to get himself on the front foot. So I think we just need to kind of understand, not just Abada, but the rest of the forward lines, what they give us and when those abilities are valuable to the team's success on a match day. Now, what can I say about Jota that's not been said already? He is quite easily the most gifted player in the team. He is absolute stardust, absolute next level talent. He's been so effective on the left, cutting in on the right hand side and taking worldy shots at goal. He's been super effective going down the line and delivering crosses in for teammates and such, as well as taking shots from this angle. But he's also been effective on the right hand side whenever we've had somebody switch play with him, and again on the right hand side where it's going down the line for deliveries, which I think is something the manager Ange is trying to push a bit more with Jota, because I think his right footed delivery for the players we've got is a huge weapon that we've not even began to take advantage of. But again, equally in some of the games where we've had lots of good joy, the front three, like the word I was using early season was the manager wants them to become telepathic. In some of the games where we've been the most fluent and the most attacking, we've seen the attackers all kind of get together and have some nice little interchanges of play, and that can be on the other occasion when some of these guys are ended up getting involved in the attack, like O'Reilly or Taylor or whatever. So the intelligence, the guile, the talent and the absolute ambition that he has is a huge part of the success we've had so far this year, and this is definitely a talent we want to keep nurturing and keep on putting into the big matches and really putting the pressure on in a good way, because ambitious people thrive on pressure, and Jota is grasping this opportunity at Celtic with both hands so far. I think he's done absolutely amazing. He's definitely our standout player in the first half of the season overall for me, and yeah, I hope for more of the same. Now, Kyogo probably feels like one of the most unluckiest players at the club at the moment. If you look at his whole time with mad international travel, injuries, in and out the team, etc, etc, he's had a really stop-start Celtic career. For the success he's had and for the incredible numbers and the ability and the talent that he's shown us already, it has really been very stop-start. Of course, one of his main strengths that he gives us is that tenacity, that pressing nature. Doesn't give the defence any time to let up at all, which is phenomenal. But he can win headers, he can score them. But left foot, right foot, very composed and very unselfish. One of the great things about Kyogo is that he's very happy to lay people on for a play if it's on there. He's all about putting the team forward. He's all about the team's success, and his attitude and his teamwork has been a huge kind of hallmark for the whole front three, no matter what iteration it is, whether it's Abada, Jota, or Maeda, or anyone else. Kyogo really feels like the talisman of the front three. As much as Jota's the star, I feel like Kyogo is the man that if Kyogo starts scoring and Kyogo's on form, the whole team goes up 2 or 3 levels, because he's just, like I say, it feels like he is the talisman. For the second half of the season, I really hope Kyogo, after the international break, really kicks on and really what I think we need for Kyogo is a good run in the team of weekend and midweek. And I know he's going to come off at 60 minutes and whatever, but the whole he's in and he's out and he's in and he's out, I don't think that's good for some of these players that are so high tempo, these big high tempo pressing players. I think they need to keep the reps up, you know. Now, Aaron Mooy has already been a really decisive figure in a short time at Celtic. I've been really impressed by, I'm going to call him a defensive midfielder at this point, because I don't think he's got the legs to do much more else. But his range of passing, and again, similar to some of the other defenders and defensive players that we have at the club, overall composure and stature in possession of the ball is a real kind of air of grace that goes through the team. And you know, like I said, it's his range of passing. It's the main weapon he's got, right foot and left foot, to be able to put the ball into the channel, put the ball into space for wingers to go and attack. When we are struggling to get out of this kind of middle band of the pitch. You know, it was pretty evident against St Mirren, but this kind of section here, we just couldn't get any play. We just couldn't find a body in here to play a pass into to then go and make something happen. Everything was coming down one side, back round the other. Maybe we get some play here, maybe we get a chance, maybe not. But this whole section here, if we don't have any joy through here, having a guy with Aaron Mooy's passing range is very effective and can be a huge weapon. I actually think against St Mirren, it was too small a pitch and it was the wrong game to be playing him. There was only one time in the first half where we've seen his range of passing, and he basically took it from like here and flipped it right over to Ralston at right back, and it was one of the better chances we had in that kind of segment of the game. I do think he's maybe a wee bit more one-dimensional than I would have hoped when we signed him. I do think he's got great attributes and great traits that can help us in different match situations. Now, Oliver Abildgaard is probably the wild card in the squad at the moment. Everyone's expecting, because he's such a distinctive profile compared to everyone else, a big defensive Danish midfielder that he is, everyone's expecting him to come in and maybe change the game a little bit. Now, what a guy like this gives you the potential to do is have a real proper kind of false back three in possession of the ball, and give Taylor and Juranovic even more license to maybe go up here and cause it in attacking games that were being super dominant. With the injury but to Carter Vickers, if Starfelt is preferred over to Jenz, Abildgaard is a left footer. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that we could maybe, perhaps, it's not impossible, see him come in as a left centre back in Carter Vickers' absence, or maybe if other people were to get injured throughout the season, suspension, a number of things could happen. So I think he maybe has a hidden part of his versatility that we're not really aware of, that maybe this is what it is, you know, because otherwise him coming into the midfield I think really does add a lot of questions. When we think about that role that we see O'Reilly doing, being the false forward and pressing the goalkeeper in the back line when they're trying to play it from the back, could Hatate do that role? Yes, I think he could, but O'Reilly doing that, like I was saying, with that profile he's got, he's big, he's strong, he's robust, is a different threat to Hatate joining up in this as well, who's very nippy and very pacey of course, but it's not quite the same. I think the manager likes O'Reilly, or he likes Turnbull, he likes someone, maybe even if Giakoumakis is on the pitch, maybe that could afford Hatate to be this man here then perhaps. But I think Abildgaard coming into the midfield, it then raises a lot of questions for me for how does the midfield move on in the next half of the season, but it'll be one I'll be very interested to see develop. Poor old Daizen, he's in and out of favour with Celtic so often it's hard to keep track. Now, I think Daizen Maeda, again, quite similar to what I was saying about Kyogo Furuhashi, like I think he needs to play every available minute to get in a great spell. If you look at his statistics, his goals and assist record for Celtic is very credible to say the least. He's very unselfish. No one's going to confuse him with a born and bred finisher, absolute predator, can sniff out chances and get that killer instinct to score 40 goals a season or something mad like that. But he is a workhorse and he will get tap-ins. He will set other people up for tap-ins, but I do feel that he's one of these guys that if he's on and off the bench, he's starting and he's off and he's in and he's out, I don't think we're going to get anywhere near the best out of him. And I do feel Daizen Maeda at his best is best 11 calibre for us, and he puts on a lot of good rotational pressure because unlike Abada, he can play left or right and he is very unselfish. I think he's been most effective from the right from the time I've seen him, which is part of the reason with Jota looking so good on the left, I've seen this has been my preferred front three for the most part this season at Celtic, even though Abada has been scintillating and undeniable. But Daizen Maeda along with Kyogo, and if we have O'Reilly in here, this real press here is very hard to replicate, you know, and especially when we do have other players coming into the picture like Giakoumakis and one or two others, Turnbull, that can't really keep this up. This is a real distinct play pattern that is very difficult to live with, and I think when all these guys are on song and are all playing together is when we see the best Celtic. Now, Haksabanovic, for me, from the little that we've seen of him already so far, I could see Haksabanovic turning into a Jota level talent in our forward line. I think he's got all the work ethic and all the energy-ish, give or take, that Daizen Maeda can offer us in short spells. He seems very tenacious and very eager to go after the ball in these tight spaces and try and turn it over. I think he's got a really high level of technique and execution on his right foot and his left foot, and players like this, like Abada, maybe doesn't quite have, like Abada's got great delivery and great finishing skills, but very hard to tell if he is going to actually deliver on occasion or not, because he's young and he's up and coming, you know. Whereas Haksabanovic has kind of been around the block a little bit, he's developed, he's like 24 or something, 25, and it feels like he's in a bit better command of his powers at this point of his career, and I'm really eager to see him kick on in the next half of the season, because I think if he can get nailed on along with Jota in terms of good form and good games, Kyogo and Giakoumakis are going to get service like they've never had before at Celtic. I really do think that, and if this is the way it goes for both these guys, it could be an amazing weapon. Haksabanovic did say himself, he sees himself as an attacking midfield player, and if you look at his Ruben Kazan statistics, a lot of his good work was done in this area of the pitch here. If he was to start pushing like O'Reilly, maybe edges Turnbull out the squad ever so slightly with the rotation, I think in this position, it could be much more effective than what we've seen like Turnbull be in spells of the game, as well as maybe like when we've seen other substitutes come in previously, like Mooy and whatever. I think he's got such a powerful shot, such a good eye for a goal, as well as that creativity to play a pass, that I think whether it be in this attacking midfield position, because I think he can do that press maybe a bit better than Rio could if it wasn't going to be O'Reilly, for example. And I think he's got a lot of good attacking versatility and talent that we can look forward to enjoying in the second half of the season. Now for me, David Turnbull, I think is a bit unfortunate to find himself in a situation where he is, where he's basically sort of out of favour with the manager and not in the first 11. I know he started at the weekend and whatever, right? But since O'Reilly and now with some of these signings coming on, Turnbull is taking too many touches. He's shooting even more than he normally does. And over the last couple of games, it really does feel like he's fighting a losing battle. You can see it on some of the attempts he's making, as well as the look on his face and stuff like that when things aren't coming off for him. It does feel like the clock's ticking on him, and he really does need to start producing in the second half of the season, because this squad is getting deep, it's getting competitive. And Turnbull, for all the talent he's got and the creative guile, and yes, I know he did great under the manager when Ange first came in, but I think that's a little bit a case of you've got to, play with what you've got when you arrive. And now the almost the entire squad has been assembled by Postecoglou at this point. It feels like Turnbull might be one of the next guys that gets edges out if he doesn't step up in this next part of the season. I hope you enjoyed that. I'll be paying keen attention to all the news across the international windows. I'm sure Celtic fans across the world will be doing so as well. We want to make sure all the boys come home nice and safe without injuries or anything like that. It's worth noting that the Japan squad are actually playing the Kirin Cup in Germany. So our Japanese lads don't have too far to go. I think most of the players are kind of staying within Europe, which is pretty decent. So let's hope for no surprises on top of the injuries that we've been accruing in defence. And yeah, catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.